Hello, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another CSGO news episode. If I sound a bit somber, maybe a bit sad, it's because as of last night, some crazy news did happen, but plenty of stories. They'll all be timestamped down below. And yes, there are a lot of stories today for CSGO news, and a quite unfortunate start. So first of all, if you guys do not know, our monthly giveaway is coming to an end. It's free to enter, link down below. But let's hop into this first story all around Braxton Pierce, otherwise known as Swag, and his teammates who continue to leave him because they want chances at both ECS as well as majors, as has now happened, well, for the second / kind of third time. If you guys do not know, this run with Swole Patrol has been a bit of an up and down over the past few months. Of course, throughout season 28 of Premier, they managed to qualify for Pro League. In doing so, though, they lost Zelsis to Cloud9. They lose Freakazoid, of course, to Ghost Gaming. Both arguably better teams, and you really can't fully blame those guys. Before that, they also lost Cooper to eUnited, and it's now eUnited revamping their entire roster and picking up the majority of Swole Patrol, who also just qualified for IEM Sydney. And it's just kind of shocking. I haven't really fully gotten aware of it quite yet, and it's an incredibly sad situation to be in. So it will be Marky, Vanity, and Food leaving that roster of Swole Patrol to join eUnited's brand new roster, and of course many questions up in the air. Som went nuts. This roster did manage to qualify. Unfortunately, not the majority roster for IEM Sydney is now gone, which I'm going to assume that will be gifted over to eUnited, that being Marky, Vanity, and Food, Som, and Swag all qualified for IEM Sydney, but that majority roster and likely that spot will go to eUnited. Other questions out there, it pretty much leaves Swag on his own. I think we can all agree, based off the recent results as well from Som, we would love to see this duo stick it out together, and I cannot wait to see if they actually try and field a roster in order to keep some of these spots. Now, we're going to assume they lost IEM Sydney, even though it's not to the back half of April. The last week of April, that tournament does begin. The majority roster is gone, so I assume that spot is gone with it. But again, it still will be Swag to potentially retain his Pro League spot, which is a very unique circumstance. We have, I don't think, ever seen before one player retain a Pro League spot, but in doing so, all of his other teammates have gone to teams that are already in Pro League, right? Zelsis to Cloud9, Freakazoid goes to Ghost Gaming, as well as now we have Cooper to eUnited, and the rest of his roster eUnited. Luckily enough, all those teams currently do have Pro League spots, so it should be Swag to retain this Pro League spot, unless there's some jank rule out there which gives the gifted spot to Can't Win Land, who placed second to Swole Patrol for that last qualifying spot at the ESA Season 28 Finals. So that could still happen, but if that does happen, expect some extreme backlash and extreme unfortunate causes here for somehow Swag to lose so many teammates and then to lose all of his spots at everything he's managed to qualify for. It would be a terrible story. So I'm going to safely assume by some gift he actually gets to keep that Pro League spot if he can field a roster. IEM Sydney goes bye-bye, but this goes to a roster as well, that being eUnited, who has certainly seen their own troubles. If you guys remember, now I'm not going to blame the players as well. Marky, Vanity, and Food, as well as the reactions from Swag as well as Som, they did an amazing job so far. Their responses on social media do not blame the players for leaving. It was actually Food who straight up said he was sorry, it was a difficult decision, but he clearly said in his very, very short tweet longer he had to leave because of ECS as well as a potential to play the major, and he of course could not do that with Swag on the roster. But he goes to a roster who has seen some very, very tumultuous times over the past 3 to 4 months. If you guys remember, they were role swapping just about everyone. They were trialing multiple players at one time. I believe it was actually Skylar and Dazzle trying to actually play it out for one spot. Skylar actually lost that spot. He had posted his tweet longer about his struggles trying to adapt to every single role possible. It wasn't good enough. FNS departs just shortly a while ago. He obviously in his Instagram post kind of had some internal struggles meshing with that lineup, and now it's actually Dapper and Dazzle also released. So Dazzle, the guy who actually won the spot, now has officially lost his spot afterwards, and they pretty much revamped the entire roster. It's down to Cooper as well as Moose, and of course Marky, Vandy, and Food to round out that roster. And eUnited has once again changed just about everything, and they come away with just about everything as well. That IEM Sydney spot likely theirs, and Cooper, it's crazy to see this story unfold, especially in North American scene. The amount of roster changes based around Cooper leaving the initial Swole Patrol roster has kind of unveiled the full breakdown of the Swole Patrol roster. No one has stayed on that roster besides Swag. And just a very, very short breakdown as well for the IEM Sydney qualifier for that North American spot, which Swole Patrol initially had. We're going to wait for updates on that. I did reach out to Brax and try and get some feedback. No response quite yet, but I'll try and keep you guys informed on the news if they do actually keep their Pro League spot, if they do get the IEM Sydney spot, if they can field a roster. But what makes it all the worse as well, and again, I'm not blaming the players, I'm not blaming the organization. When it comes down to it, guys, the reaction from Swag and Som was, it seems sincere not to blame the players. It ultimately comes down to to them, so I'm not going to blame eUnited for, poaching these players. The players make the final call here to leave Swole Patrol, but what kind of hurts the most, it's actually Cooper and eUnited who beat Ghost Gaming twice. His older brother Freakazoid, arguably I think Ghost Gaming was definitely the favored team in that matchup. eUnited beats them twice, but the worst thing, guys, with Marky, Vandy, and Food on the Swole Patrol roster alongside Swag and Som, they beat eUnited twice in arguably best of threes. They sweep them because in the best of 5 finals, they do sweep them, but map 1 was a default because it was Swole Patrol coming from the upper bracket and eUnited coming from the lower bracket. But this roster is definitely better than the eUnited roster, who takes away then the majority of the team who just beat them twice. And it's a crazy, nutty story to see just the eventual roster changes from this. You look back 4 months, this Swole Patrol roster was entirely different. You look back a month and a half, 2 months after that, an entirely different roster. They managed to make these accomplishments, and they change once again. It's been a flush of players who play alongside Swag. They realize they can't play ECS events or majors, and they just leave. They build them up and they leave, and we've seen it time and time again with Swag. I feel so utterly bad for the guy, but like he said, he will bounce back, and that's the first story today. Could it get any worse? But apparently it can for Disco Doplan. You guys might call him Disco Doplan. Either way, guys, Disco this past weekend taking to Twitter and saying his contract at Red Reserve had been terminated, and apparently due to a breach. Now, no full details on that. His own mother had a tweet about this, and if you guys want to translate that, pretty much saying Red Reserve was not even paying his salary. Although he was not on the starting roster, he still should have been paid a salary. We'll wait for updates on that. This does seem to be the potential downfall of Red Reserve, long awaited as well. I thought this was actually going to be quite some time ago. They are now down to Grux and Draken on that roster. It was actually Rusty who had initially replaced Disco, and now he is gone. They did not re-sign his contract, and alongside him, Hampus has now announced his free agency, and Red Reserve is now down to 2 players and seemingly just about nothing. Now, other teams out there have now announced a brand new potential rumor out there, thanks to Decay, and that is TSM, and very, very hyped rumor out there, potentially returning to North American CSGO. But again, I am so curious who they could possibly sign if they return to North American CSGO, because alongside your top teams who are arguably not going to sell out their rosters anytime soon, there's not much North American talent to pick up to complete a roster right now. eUnited doing the best they could to sweep up a potential growing Swole Patrol. I don't see too many other options out there. I do see potential options for a European 4th and 5th to join them, but I am so excited to see who TSM pulls together, because if you guys remember, in their time with CSGO, they pulled together some incredible talent, some incredible rosters. Of course, the Astralis core being the most notorious of these guys. They go on to win 10 events in 2018. Who would have ever guessed that? Alongside Sick, who was a rising talent at the time. Of course, they have Twist, who now has established himself as a top 10 player in the world. I am very excited to see who these guys pull in, and of course, the question does remain, could they pull in a Smooya? Could they pull in a Karrigan as their European 4th and 5th members, and then have, of course, a North American core around some star European talent? I am super excited to see what TSM can pull in. Obviously, it'll probably be some time before they announce this and actually make their established return, but still super excited. And why I say Karrigan is because, surprise, surprise, I know you guys are actually shocked by this. Karrigan did announce his loan to Envyus after a failed major qualifier as well as an IEM Sydney qualifier. He is now going to part ways with Envyus guys and that roster, and he'll continue his search for the coming months to join a brand new team. I know, shock, but Karrigan is still available, and you know he has plenty of options out there. Big, North, Optic, Mouse Sports. The list goes on, right? So crazy to see where he could end up, and TSM will be returning. Will they sign Karrigan? Let's find out, but he certainly has plenty of options on the table. And very lastly, for all you South African fans out there, this weekend was a fiesto, and some crazy things did happen for South African teams out there. The first of which, Bravado, now formerly South African, will be a majority North American team. They have announced a hint, guys, if you can guess it. So pretty much just an announcement making them a North American team. We didn't know if they would actually go back to South Africa, which I think a few of us did presume. It will be a North American team out there. And again, you got to wonder, all these teams, TSM possibly returning. We also now have Bravado announcing a North American roster. I'm just curious who these guys can pick up to be a contending team for Pro League spots in the future, as well as ECS spots, potential major qualifying spots out of the North American qualifier. I'm just really curious how much talent can be stretched this thin, and I'm very, very curious as well if this team will be a heavy-hitting team, which at first glance I'm going to doubt right now. But also in big news, news out there for South African teams. It will be bLacKPoisoN officially joining the Denial roster after, of course, it's going to be Destiny, first of all, not joining the team, but also a surprise from Elusive. Elusive has announced his retirement from CSGO, as apparently his academic credits were set to expire. He has chosen education over professional CSGO. He goes back and announces his retirement, guys, goes back to finish his education for the time being, and it will be now bLacKPoisoN alongside Domster. Domster already joined the roster as a stand-in for this team. bLacKPoisoN was not expected to sign with these guys, and it does unfortunately seem to be the end of the former NRG starting roster. They promoted most of their academy roster guys alongside Mestim, and yeah, so we have bLacKPoisoN and Domster leaving the former energy roster. It seems that the organization said, okay, there goes two of our better players and our best player in bLacKPoisoN. They get rid of the remaining starting roster players besides Mestim, and they then pull up their academy roster to join him for their brand new roster. So the end of one starting roster means it's going to be crazy to see bLacKPoisoN, guys. The arguably best and most rising talent out of South Africa has now joined Team Denial with their brand new signing, of course, of the old Bravado gaming roster, and it's going to be crazy to see. So there's still the core of Bravado is there, minus Destiny, minus Elusive, and they pick up arguably the best talent in South Africa right now. Team Denial is going off. The question is now, will they pay the guys? But as always, hope you guys all enjoy. We are now currently in Major Week. I cannot wait to cover the news. Of course, it's going to be a great few weeks here on the channel because I just love CSGO Majors. I hope you guys all enjoy. Investment videos coming soon. Don't buy stickers until the last day of the Major. There's a CSGO giveaway down below, and I hope you guys all enjoy. Tomorrow we'll do some breakdown videos. I think I'm going to cover a segment on Swag and the struggles he's had over the past 2 to 3 years. But I hope you guys all enjoy. As always, my name is Jake. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day, and as always, drink your coffee, drink your caffeine.